And hello, everyone. I'm JT Displays, joined here today with Ashley Hodge. Ashley, of course, you've been in esports for a very long time. Really an impressive resume looking over it. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in esports?
Sure, and JT, thank you for having me. As you said, I have been around quite a long time, since 2017 when season zero first started for us in high school esports. So, about me, I've always been a gamer. I grew up in the 90s gaming. And, I really wish that we had had esports in high school. So I get to do the second best thing. I am a coach, so I'm an esports coach. Previously, I coached one of the largest programs in the state of Georgia at Colquitt. We had about 125 students, like 15 League of Legends teams, 4 Rocket League teams, and no Smite. Nobody wanted to play Smite. Currently, I am a coach at a much smaller school. We have about 45. And, I'm just learning what I learned from that large program and transferring it to the small program. And as far as esports goes, again, professional, semi-professional gamer. I played League of Legends a lot. I went to college on some League of Legends scholarships. I was a Teemo main in League of Legends. And so I just transferred what I learned into
Bit of a
coaching.
Heimerdinger mind myself, so I
Yeah,
feel you there. I
yeah,
feel you there. It's out of the meta, but it's still fun.
yeah. So that's really it. I've been involved in esports for a very long time. Since I can't play it myself, I do the second best thing for myself and my students. I coach, which is a lot of fun.
Absolutely, yeah, and certainly with the depth of knowledge that you bring here, that history of that being in it, like you said, since 2017, obviously that has served you pretty well, and to the point where like Riot's contacting you. We'll get to that here in a second here, but first, I do want to talk a little bit more about the Scholastic side of things. And as a person that's been involved with Scholastic esports for a while, what makes esports so special?
Man, if it's really, I'm not going to say it's hard to explain if you're not an esports player, but the biggest sense I get with my students and just with myself is the community, like that community family feeling that you get. Now, you can claim that you get that with any sport, but with esports, it's particularly special because you have young boys and girls coming together because we don't do divisions with esports like we do with other sports. It's very inclusive, and there's just the sheer amount of diversity that you get. For example, in my current program, I had football players, like the head leaders of the football team coming in playing Madden, and they were
Mhm.
playing alongside like band students who were playing Smash or students who were just not involved in like any kind of like sport. So you had all these different students coming together and they became friends. They didn't think that they were going to become friends, but they did. So community, family, and just this weird kind of mixing among different student groups that happens. I think that's what really makes esports special because, you might have a physical disability that prevents you from playing a traditional sport. So this really reaches like a diverse group of kids that I think that might not have been reached otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. And like me, I certainly grew up playing video games as well. Was a big debate nerd in high school, and certainly we didn't really have the esports that we have today, which is really kind of special. And the fact that not only are colleges picking up high schools as well, and even to the middle school level, we're starting to see more and more programs pop up here and there, and really get invested into the STEAM aspect of it there. Which just kind of like segue more to that next question here for you is that throughout your experience, how have you communicated and educated parents about the opportunities of esports for their children?
Well, I can speak from experience that when I first started at Colquitt, um, a lot of people kind of thought esports was a joke. They weren't taking it seriously. Like we got an email from our AD saying, "Hey, GHSA is offering esports. If anybody's interested, contact me." And I was super excited, so I did. But you can imagine like how parents reacted, how the community reacted. It's like video games; those are bad for you. First-person shooters are bad. There's that negative
Stigma. Big stigma.
negative stigma about that, which is unproven, by the way. I'm an esports researcher. And there
Yeah,
is
that's right.
no
Like I heard you were like you're working on your doctorate currently. Is that
I
correct?
am. I am. My dissertation is focused on male and female experiences in high school esports programs. And I can tell you there is no direct correlation between first person shooters and violence. The only correlation we have been able to prove is that if you play an online game, you can be more aggressive and show more aggressive behavior. But that's because nobody wants to lose.
Yeah.
That kind of goes with anything. Um, so with parents, particularly at my old school, a lot of them were very concerned. So I held a parent night where all the parents whose kids wanted to play, they could come and they could ask me any question that they wanted, any concerns, and I've continued that. So I actually have like a PowerPoint presentation that I do each year when the new students come in, and I go through, okay, this is what esports is. This is kind of why it's important. This is how it can help your child. And if you have any questions, like please ask me and I'll be able to navigate that for you. So that's how I address it with concerned parents and communities. And that giving them that opportunity to have that discourse with you is very helpful.
Yeah, and for sure, I think that being able to have a just a person in the room not only helps that an adult in the room helps relay that to parents that maybe didn't grow up with video games like you and I did. I mean, certainly there are more of us nowadays that grew up playing video games that are at that age where they have children and are getting into that high school age, but that's still very much still a barrier that's needing to be broken down. And I think also just having an adult that's not necessarily your parents being able to listen and being able to share that same passion for video games really helps also break down more barriers for these kids and allows them to really help correlate, because some of those esports skills are really easy to translate to any profession, really, right?
Communication and teamwork. Even though I have like really, really great students who are very, very competitive, the constant problem that I see, and I know a lot of other coaches see, is a breakdown in communication and teamwork. Because as soon as a team starts losing, they might get mad and start, yelling at each other and things like that. And it's important to have an adult coach in the room so we can step in and stop that toxic behavior and like reteach them like effective communication. And that's what a lot of us do. And I think that's important because there is a lot of toxicity in the video game industry. I hate to say it. I was around for Gamergate. It's 2022. Sometimes you still get harassing emails as a female. It just is reality. So it's good that we're able to go in there, stop toxic behavior, and like recorrect before it becomes ingrained, before it becomes a problem.
Yeah, able to redirect it there into something more positive and more constructive way. Because if you're in a tough losing streak, I've either seen it, people get heated or they just stop talking entirely, and then that's a full breakdown in communication where you're not talking and your teammates aren't talking, and it's really hard to win games when they aren't talking there. But you've certainly done plenty of talking with Riot Games. You have a great partnership with them. Can you speak a little bit more to your relationship with Riot and how it impacts your involvement with Scholastic Esports?
Sure. So I'm a member of Riot Scholastic Association of America. How that happened is PlayVS, which is the company that I work with esports. They're partnered with GHSA, which is our athletic association. So you have our athletic association and Play Versus working together to provide esports. So Play Versus emailed me and asked me, would I be interested in that position? And I said, sure, why not? It's Riot. I mean, I've been playing League of Legends since it came out in 2009. I was very excited. So I submitted an application and then they interviewed me, which was terrifying. Having like all these Riot people interview me about esports. They picked me and now I serve as a member on their board. So scholastically speaking, it has been an eye opener for me to understand how things work at the professional esports level and how that trickles down to like your college, your high school, and your middle school. And it still brings to my attention how those different levels are not connected in the ways that they should be. And that's why I don't think we have like as much success in esports as like our Eastern players. League of Legends is bigger over there than it is over here. And if you've ever seen the world tournament for League of Legends, is insane. It's just crazy. So I would love to see that in the United States. But yeah, scholastically, I've learned how things work behind the scenes, for better or for worse. And then I really think, based off my conversations I've had with Riot, that they really do stand by their player first mantra. Every decision that I've ever helped or been a part of discussing or making has always been, will this benefit the player?
Sure.
So that is very refreshing to see that a lot of companies are putting their players first.
Yeah, and that's hugely important. I always think, that is, for a company, that's their product, is their players and how their players performing. Sponsorships are great, but ultimately it's, just like any other sports team, it's, the play that's on the field is what matters. You're going to, if you want to put, fans in seats, you got to start winning games. And, that's, pretty crucial there to gain fans. You got to be impressive on the field, showing out like that. And I think that having that scholastic, pipeline, that pathway to the pros, as they like to call it there, through colleges there, I think is really important to see that, not everybody is going to be able to grow to make it pro, right? But, that top 1%, top, 0.1%, just like the, traditional sports, the NCAA, they always stress as well, that it's not everybody is going to go pro in their sport there, but they're still having fun. They're still learning valuable life skills, no matter where life takes them in the end.
And I'll say with esports, because I've told my kids, not everybody's going to go pro. The chances of somebody going pro is very, 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 very tiny. And then if you do manage to go pro, your esports athletic career is not going to be long. You don't see a lot of 35 and 40-year-old professional esports players. You just don't. That doesn't mean they don't exist.
There's no Tom Brady of esports yet, but
You know what? It's coming. I'm sure somebody will prove me wrong as soon as that has come out of my mouth. But yeah, I lost my trail of thought. Esports. It was a good point too.
Yeah, like I said, esports careers very short. There is a lot of turnover there, because the meta is always adapting and always changing, and it is just something that esports is very fast twitch as well, and that that's something that some of those muscles do atrophy if they're not practiced, and just comes with age. There, some reactions aren't as quick as your age typically. For most people, there are some special rare cases, out there, but for most people that does tend to atrophy there, right?
Yeah, and I remember what my point was.
There you go.
Let me double back to my point. With esports, you don't have to be in the top 1% to even be involved in it. You could do broadcast, you could do video editing. Like there's so many different avenues for esports that's what's very unique about it. Like, yeah, you might not be, a professional esports player, but you could be a manager, coach, an editor, somebody who's making the games that they're playing. But there's just a lot of different avenues for people. That was the point I wanted to make.
Absolutely. Well, Ashley, it's been a pleasure talking with you today. Thank you so much for joining us here. Ashley Hodge, member of the Riot board there for Scholastic Endeavors. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.